A small business vandalized, windows broken, items from nearby stores stolen, and so on. An innocent person's car set to blaze. Fights breaking out in the middle of the streets. Protesters and rioters alike crowded around a burning car, tipped over a street lamp, or an unconscious person KO'd by a rioter. This is the work of none other than the anti-fascists, the social justice warriors, young people who stared into the abyss for so long that the abyss stared right back at them. As we've seen all across major college campuses, every time a conservative commentator like Milo or Ben is invited to speak on campus, chaos ensues, as protesters violently demand that these speakers be silent. You might ask yourself, why do these protests occur? Why is it, in a place of learning, by intellectually challenging each other, there are loads of people who want to physically silence others? The answer is simple, really. They disagree with them. As we've seen across America, though there are peaceful anti-Trump protests, there's also a lot of violent protests. Trump supporters having rocks thrown at them, Trump supporters being beaten up, hospitalized, harassed, and even kidnapped sometimes. You might ask yourself, why do these violent protests occur in a democratic country? The answer is simple, really. They disagree with them. I disagree with Trump, Milo, and Ben on a lot of political issues too. I really do. The difference between me and them, though, the difference between me and anti-fascists and social justice warriors, is that I fundamentally haven't been possessed with the notion that the world is out to get me like they have been. I haven't become possessed with the notion that me or my group's ideas are the solution to the world's problem. It's not. No single person or group is intelligent enough to solve the world's problems. And lastly, fundamentally speaking, I am not possessed with the notion that those who disagree with me are my enemy. Sure, we disagree. That doesn't make it right to destroy my cities or communities. That doesn't make it right for me to silence people. And that segues into the core philosophical problem I have with these violent, idiotic protesters. The reason why all this violence occurs stems from the left's corruption of the younger generation's collective mind. The left, through academia, has convinced millions of young people to value their feelings over principles. So, for example, that they value the right to be called whatever they want to be called over the principle of free speech and expression. So they pass laws legally enshrining that their feelings don't get hurt when these snowflakes don't get called the pronouns that they want to be called. The left, through academia, has convinced millions of young people that our economic system, free market capitalism, the freedom to do what you want with the money that you earn, is oppressive. And we'd be better off living under communism or socialism, state control and theft, when communism failed and every single country was implemented in and millions of people died as a result. And finally, the left, through academia, has convinced millions of young people that they're victims of some uber-white supremacist patriarchal system, even though there's no evidence for such a thing's existence. So in the minds of all these young, violent protesters, it's not just that Milo and Ben are people they disagree with. In their minds, these are people they need to fight against, violently fight against, because they think the other is the enemy. The left ought to be ashamed of themselves for breeding so much violence and hatred on their side. The left lost a totally good liberal, a perfectly good liberal, me, because of it. Now I call myself a Canadian conservative. I'm Jay Fayza from the Rebel.media. If you want to fight against the leftist dogma that breeds hatred and violence, like and subscribe to the Rebel.media.